Okay. I have 4:02 and I will call the meeting to order.
I'll go ahead with the script.
Yes, please.
Afternoon. This September 15th open meeting of the Town Area Plan Work Group, a subcommittee of the Nantucket Planning and Economic Development Commission, is being convening by a video conference pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. This meeting is being recorded. Please be aware other people may be able to see you and take care not to share your device's screen. Anything you broadcast might be captured by the recording. Please silence all phones and devices. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment if any members of the public are present and wish to comment. Henry, go ahead with the roll call.
Yes, please. Mary.
Here.
I'm here. Marcia.
Yes.
Mary Ann.
Here.
And Allison.
Here.
No Lee, he emailed me, no Mickey, and no Reagan. So we have a quorum. Approval of the agenda. Any comments?
No.
I think that is no. Okay. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second, Marianne.
Mary Ann, second. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? All right, that carries. Approval of the draft minutes from September 5th. Any additions? Modifications? Take that as a no. All right, motion to approve.
So moved.
Mary? I'll second.
Thank you, Henry.
All in favor, aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that's done. Now, discussion of the plans. Marcia, you got cut short the last meeting. You want to start?
Sure, I can do that. Do you have, Mary, you can put on the screen what I had submitted?
It's progress report 2,
It is, yes.
September 5th, yeah.
The progress report begins with the listing. Since this category is natural and cultural resources, I mean, first of all, my feeling is, having looked at several other area plans, that I would like it at some point to add a narrative description, because my feeling is that the natural and cultural resources for the island in our area are so great that they warrant a kind of introduction. So for now, I have a list in 3 categories of historical sites, cultural sites, and natural sites. In the historical sites, I listed the number that I had from Nathan Porter of 1,758 historic residential structures. And then went into listing from the different organizations, those that are owned by the Historical Association, those of the Museum of African American History, Mariah Mitchell Association, the churches. You see in there's a Civil War monument, there's cemetery. The cemeteries were a little bit difficult to study the maps. I I wasn't totally clear. I think Lee had sent an email about clarifying that really that the Quaker cemetery was in our area. But anyway, that needs to be clarified. So I think that's kind of, in those three areas, if this during this meeting, if you think of things that are in our area that I haven't included, now's the time to let me know. The cultural sites were, oh yes, and that's interesting to bring up the map because there it is. Is there another one? The other one was the colored cemetery that I wasn't sure of. So both of those are in. But the Prospect Hill is not, correct? I'm not getting any audio.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, good, good. Yes, I am. Good, good.
No one's talking.
Good.
Sorry,
So,
that was, I was trying to point things out. Sorry, Marcia, thank you for reminding me. I put myself on mute. So I was saying that there's Old and New North Cemetery, and our area includes one but not the other. I don't know which one is which. I'm assuming Old is closer to town and New is further away, but town used to be over to the west, so who knows?
right. So one of them, but not both.
Right.
I think you're right, Mary.
So it would be the Old that is in our area.
We'll have to drive by and verify that, but that sounds right.
Okay, and then the Quaker is in.
Mhm.
And the colored is in.
Mhm.
And Prospect is out.
Right.
Okay, thank you. And I think, bringing up the map was a good reminder for me because when I did get through listing, I realized that as with the open space list that we did, that these resources should be shown on a map, right?
You were gonna get with Nathan, I thought.
Yes, so I will check with Nathan. The one that was kind of interesting was, when I looked at other examples from other towns, the one that's called a cultural site, I really had to stretch for that one. And you see it, and I really had to find, get onto a map to find 15 Cherry Street, which was the Joseph Griffin Hall.
Mhm.
But that was the only, out of, there are other towns that list cultural institutions and events, like special events during the year. I suppose that, that could be Daffodil Weekend, it could be, but those aren't really in our area. But that was the only one as a cultural institution was the Griffin Hall. Can anyone think of anything else?
I have a question. This is Mary Ann. Because we have a recognized cultural district now, recognized by, I think, the state, is that worth mentioning under cultural sites?
Definitely. I think so. I mean, I think in terms of, I'll check its definition and whether it's specific unto the downtown.
Yeah, it is a very specific locale, that's for
Right.
sure.
But it has been expanded since it was first defined.
Oh, okay.
So it's worth a check to see how much.
It does include the Museum of African American History. I do know that. So I think that's great, Marianne. I will check that and add that in as the district and maybe try to come up with some brief description of what that really means for us, what that is. A lot of us don't really know, but it's supposed to be one thing that does give you access to grants or funding of some sort. So I will do that.
Marcia, I don't see the Quaker Meeting House and Fair Street Museum on this list that belong to the Historical Association.
Street Museum. No, you're right.
I guess it's called the Research Library now, not a museum anymore, but
So, but that would definitely research library and what else would we call, we just call it
the
research?
the Quaker Meeting House.
Okay,
And then also the Coffin School.
ah, right, good one.
Is it worth mentioning that the entire island is an historic site? Just, one sentence or so?
Well, the entire island as a historic site, do you mean a historic district?
I'm not even sure what I mean, other than just recently I read it's the only historically recognized thing of its kind in the country.
Well, I wonder what that means. I mean, I know that,
Well,
Yeah.
I would just send a quick email to Holly Backus and say, what's the official language describing Nantucket's historic recognition?
Yeah, I feel like I read this lately either in the INM or the Current or Daybreak.
yes, I know often they call it a historic landmark, but again.
There are multiple federally defined labels, and we fit in some of them, not just one.
Okay. Okay, and so then we got to natural sites, and I just referenced everything that Henry's been working on, right? In that list. Should be covered, I think. But being of all that we're talking about with the immense significance of it, I really got into this sense that making some kind of a statement about how significant, how important this, all of these natural and cultural resources are, not just to our specific area, but for the downtown, for the island, that in fact they are provide the setting, the kind of the reason being for preservation and for taking care, for protecting all of these resources, that they aren't just important individually, like a building here or there, but they're important collectively, and not just for our specific area. There's where I think I'm saying that the area in combination with the downtown and the waterfront welcomes, supports, and maintains the year-round life and tourism. So, and I was alluding to a statement that Edward Stackpole, the historian, once made, and he felt so strongly about the area around the windmill, that that you don't just take care of the windmill and the site, the structure itself, but you really need to look at the whole setting, which of course has come to be that we have natural area around there. So to that end, I think under the goal 1, I referenced and just tried to emphasize all the other recommendations that are being made within the plan for the other components, that everything about these natural and cultural resources is dependent heavily upon all those other components. And I mean, I pulled out a number of them that are specific. When I started working on this section a couple of years ago, it was with Liz, and at the time we met with we met with Michael Harrison, curator at NHA, and there were definitely issues like you see in access, signage, noise abatement, traffic, all of those that were of concern to the Historical Association for the protection of and the enhancement of their historical sites. There were specific issues, which I know we've talked about in other areas, other components about the sidewalk, about access, about finding your way through town. There was
excuse me. I just had a thought. The elm trees, I think, could be considered a historic feature. I was trying to think of houses, and I realized, I didn't really want to point at one privately owned property or another, because as you said, there's 1,700 significant structures. So collectively, they're a historic feature. But the elm trees, I think, are, and you could even point to, Main Street and, and the cobblestones as a feature. But I think the elm trees are worth pointing out, not just because they're, old or they're essential to the streetscape. They're also unique almost in the United States. There are no more avenues of elm trees left after Dutch elm disease decimated them. And that's something that is very special on Nantucket.
Yeah, no, that's great. I wonder, is it listed under the other, the open space list, Henry?
No,
So, okay, definitely. Great, I'll do that.
And Mary, you mentioned cobblestones. I think they ought to be called out specifically in here because they're in every guidebook, and that's what people remember about Nantucket. It's an historic, it's definitely an historic way
Yes.
of paving a street.
Okay. Yes.
And while I'm talking, something that occurs to me is under goal number 2. I don't know if other people would agree with this, so I'd like to hear other people's opinions. But the guidebook, Building with Nantucket in Mind, is worth mentioning it because people are now ignoring it. And I think it's just worth calling out that there are specific guidelines for architects and builders, and they should be reading this and following this. So I just think it's worth mentioning it along with the Historic District Commission, but I don't know what other people think.
No, I definitely agree. It's kind of funny because, my other area is housing. And so some of the things kind of came up when Mickey and I were working on housing, but I think it definitely would carry in here. And also what has been discussed among a number of preservationists on the island is that guideline book is so out of date. There has been a longstanding CPC fund to fund a rewrite of that guideline book. And so this might also be a good place to not only note the importance of the guidebook itself, but number 2, that it does need an update. And it really is quite relevant to our study, because what has happened with the guidelines is that they're becoming very specific into areas of the island, and the downtown with nearly 2,000 historic structures needs real specific input in that guidebook. That's quite different than if you're building in Tom Nevers.
Mm.
But I know it's been a great loss not to have had the HSAB reinstated. So I think has it been a year and a half or 2 years? I think that Mickey could speak to that because he's been chairing that for some time. But the fact that I think he's still isn't recognized as that committee, of course, but he continues, I think, to review applications for structures in town and to offer his input. So is that controversial to those of us on this group?
Not to me. I agree with you reinstating it 100%.
Yeah, I don't think it's controversial. I think especially because our boundaries are very close to the boundaries of the old historic district, which is a zoning district. Bringing that whole concept into play and supporting the continued resources for preservation of the historic elements is appropriate in this case.
Okay, great. Well, I will embellish that goal number 2 and add the guidelines, the book, and suggest supporting an update to it, as well as what I've already written here. I mean, I kind of put in a choice that if there was some reason why they couldn't reestablish the HSAB, it would be then to get an architectural historian on the staff to take some of that workload. Because even when it is HSAB, I know from different members who are volunteers that oftentimes they end up moving out and doing the research that's really required to support their reviews, their recommendations. So you see, we just kind of moved down into different things that seem to be important to me, which goal number 3 is to encourage and support that we have that new area plan for the downtown. I did plug in the thought that for some continuity, it would be great to have a member of the new team be one of the members or the past members of this area plan that we're working on, just for a sense of continuity and highlighting those issues that we've talked about.
I think that's a reasonable suggestion.
Thank you. Thank you. Number 4 was a little, we've touched upon number 4. I didn't know, I mean, I know there's a lot of work being done with the rising seas, but I think we've touched upon that even though we are not right on the coast, that we're still going to have an impact. And what is that?
Fortunately, it looks like we're not going to see it this weekend.
Yeah, right. Number 5.
On number 5, what do you think about including using natural plantings from Nantucket, encouraging that, which is already being encouraged, but we could do more to just give our endorsement to that, as opposed to perfectly manicured green lawns?
Yeah, that's a great idea, Mary Ann, definitely. I overheard the other night a neighbor accosting a landscaper who was putting some fertilizer out, and I thought it was going to be a fist fight.
Well, I don't endorse that kind of advancing on these people, but the more we can do to encourage it, the better.
No, that's different, like natural, native, like, yes, Heidi, I will try to find a way to describe something that's not a manicured lawn, like it doesn't have to have a defined planting area around every bush, that the lawn and the grass can kind of go up to it without being mulched. There was a way that things were done that weren't manicured, right?
Right. Encourage naturalness.
Yes. Yeah. No, thank you. That's a good one. I don't know number 6. I put bylaw because I thought something was voted in at the town meeting, but I
It
don't.
was.
Yeah.
Is that awaiting some confirmation, or is it in? It's in the books.
It's in the books.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know, I could, again, on that one, I could pull it out a bit and kind of say, well, what does that really mean? In terms of residential lighting, what does it mean in terms of the town, the streetlights, or,
It might be good to encourage enforcement,
okay,
which I think is gonna be the problem.
I would say education and enforcement. You have education and outreach in there.
okay,
So, you know, don't lose those because it's a big bylaw. There's a lot of information in it.
yeah, good. Um, do we have any areas where that's an issue that we see? I mean, the one that I always see is the one when you go through the hospital at nighttime and nobody's there. And every single light that could possibly be on is on at the hospital.
But we have the Mariah Mitchell Observatory on Vessel Street. I'm not sure if the one on Milk Street Extension is within our boundaries. I think it's outside. But you know, we have an observatory within our boundary. And so for that reason alone, I think it's important to express support for the Dark Skies Initiative.
Okay. But we
Yeah,
don't,
just getting the proper size for wattage bulb would be a huge thing.
Maybe
so
we
is,
should suggest that to the town association, Henry, as a campaign.
is that an issue with our street lighting, do you feel?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Well, they're working on the street lighting, so we'll see what comes.
We could always ask Gail to give us a presentation specific to our area, what Gail Walker, the proponent of the bylaw, to see what she identifies as the most egregious issues.
Lawrence Sinatra would be another one.
Yes, I mean, I think we've given up on the, I mean, I mentioned it earlier, the electric and cable lines. I mean, we've kind of given up on those, have we not, with National Grid and the hope of ever seeing them underground?
I don't think
National-
given
Go
up. I
ahead.
think we've just been stymied. They don't want to.
No, I
When they
mean,
were running the LA line, I attended the meeting and brought up burying them, and it was, they just didn't want to hear it.
no, I mean, even I think I brought it up when there was a presentation with the sewer department about all the work that's coming up. Lily Street and Liberty Street and, you know, tearing up the entire street where, wow, isn't that an opportunity to tuck something else down in there? No,
No, I brought it up when they were doing the sewer lines here in town. There's no interest. And the town, I don't see where they're pushing it at all. The core district was done and that's it. Although I don't know, maybe the new developments that are going in, they may be buried. I don't know.
and then there's the fact that the telephone poles got higher.
That was
And-
on the LA, yeah, that's a safety thing
Yes,
for the guys working up there.
right, and then I know the telephone pole in front of my house got the plastic, the brown plastic coat that goes around the base of it.
That's
Yeah.
metal.
Yeah,
A very large number of poles got that treatment, and it was frustrating to see the life of the poles extended rather than a movement towards underground wiring.
that's right, that's right. Well, at least I guess I could make some statement about how, what's the first word besides inappropriate? I mean, isn't it greater management, like during a storm?
It depends. A windstorm obviously is going to affect poles more than underground wiring, but any kind of flooding or rain affects underground wiring more than it affects poles. So it's a toss up. I shouldn't say it. I don't know the relative impact of each of those, but it's not a slam dunk to say, oh, they ought to be underground.
Right, right.
I think especially if they're put into a conduit, I mean, there's no way for the water to get in.
Hmm.
I understand why they can't do that with like the main feeder cables. Lee had brought that up the last meeting. They tend to overheat. But on a lot of these smaller side streets, I don't see any reason why they can't be buried.
I wonder what happens in other towns, in other communities, other than Nantucket, in other historic districts. I have no idea. National Grid is throughout New England, right?
And Europe,
Really?
yeah.
Right. Well, once again, as with many of these, I'll try to spell it out as a specific goal and elaborate upon.
Well, I've talked to some of the linemen and they'll get into maintenance issues. But how often have you seen a maintenance truck downtown working on cables?
Right, right.
I just see them replacing the fiberglass covers on the access because somebody parks a big truck on it.
Mm. Mm.
But those got buried
In the
late
90s.
70s.
Well, a lot of it got done in the 90s. A
Okay.
little bit got done earlier than that, but there was a big push in the 90s to finish downtown.
Okay. I haven't seen anything dug up yet on it. They had trouble with down by the Whaling Museum when they had to redo the sewer line. There was a big thing about that. And that was basically because nobody bothered to chart or mark where everything was. I mean, why would you? You got the whole street dug up.
Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to think of lots of things. Goal number 7. I keep thinking of even more where I'm suggesting that there are resources within our area that are either not developed or not fully understood in terms of their significance. So not adequately researched, such as the Mill Hill and the Coffin Parks, Lily Pond, and then the New Guinea neighborhood, which I know is part of a current request for grant funding. But then I also just kind of thought I mean, a lot of us know bits and pieces of the cultural, historical history of our area, but there's nothing really updated that takes you through it. You know, I really wanted to start writing just a concise, clear history of how our area was developed. Because
I don't know if concise is the right goal, Marsha. There's so much, you know.
there is so much, but even if you took it into the fish lots and the different Wesco Acre lots and just kind of did a timeline.
Where would you stop?
Yeah.
I know that's a question. Where would we stop? Like we would want to stop now. You know, with a timeline of STRs they're being discussed, or where would I don't know, but I just feel that if we're gonna introduce natural and cultural resources, we're not just a list, we're a history, we're a timeline of what this area is, and to me it is so significant to the entire, it is the island, it is what brings people here. If we were just another sand dune, we're not.
What would you change about the lily pond?
Oh, everything. I'd make it look like a pond. But I do understand, we did get that news about a month ago, which said that there is a plan, there is a schematic plan by the land bank to restore it and to work it with, its relationship with the drainage system that goes to Children's Beach, and to work with the neighborhood drainage into it and so forth. Yeah, who would ever, I'd clean it up totally, so, and be a pond again, which I think could be like a managed retention basin for the area. It is now, but it's not managed. I'd like to be able to walk through Coffin Park without spraying all over myself because of the overgrowth of vegetation and the ticks. But also it's a big area. I think I view it as a really undeveloped resource. So are there some other areas that you can think of? Potential archaeological sites, someplace where?
Well, I think you would start with the, moving the town from Sherburne to Nantucket.
Right.
I was thinking of Bennett Hall and the long history of cultural use of Bennett Hall. But any churchyard would be an archaeological site.
Oh, I didn't mention. Which one would be an archaeological site?
I said any churchyard.
Yes, any churchyard. But then you mentioned theater, like I didn't put any in the cultural sites. I should have the theaters that are in our area, right?
Yeah, I would say so. The Bennett Hall in particular.
Maybe it's
Well, the
only one. Bennett Hall, right.
So I think, I'm not sure about the White Heron Theater.
I
I
don't think,
think it might be in our area. It's here's Whalers Lane. So it might be that building in the gray. I'm not sure.
and because the Methodist Church is not in our area, is it?
Yeah, and neither is the Congregational Church. No, I'm sorry. Yes, it's hard to tell on the map. I guess yes, the Congregational Church is. It's that big square right above the hand. If you can see the pointer on the screen.
Yeah.
So Bennett Hall goes along with that, and that's a church in three parts: the old North Vestry and the main building, and then Bennett Hall.
Okay.
Do you want to say anything about the former Overlook Hotel?
Now that it's gone,
Well, you're talking about archaeological sites.
oh, right. Probably lost our chance, right?
Well, hopefully they have done something there, and they have to follow the state rules.
But the Nantucket Hotel, that is not in our area, or is it?
That is not. That's on Easton Street, and we do not cover Easton Street.
If I'm reading the map correctly, I think the White Heron is.
Ah,
Here's the map. It's on the other side of Whalers Lane. By North Water. That little divot, like that little dog leg seems to cover it, I think. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, it's hard to tell at this
But
level.
Whalers, yeah, White Heron is definitely on the other side of Whalers Lane, so still in the, if that red line is Whalers Lane.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if, Whalers Lane is if the text is offset above the street, if the street is in the orange, or if
Oh,
the
of
street
course.
is,
Let's beg forgiveness.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Good idea.
I'll add Bennett Hall and the White Heron Theater and mentioned Old North Vestry. It does kind of make me think of other archaeological sites like, like Lily Pond.
Mhm.
To be advocating for an awareness before they do begin work that they need to integrate and add archaeological.
I think it's appropriate, given our location for the area plan to call out that opportunity and need for archaeological discovery of any disturbed area.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Or any area. I mean, I know we can't talk about the waterfront and the Wilkes Square, or but areas that we know are going to be developed.
Well, again, it's fine to talk about them. It's just they don't fit in the context of the area plan for the town area. So, they just have to remember that our scope is limited.
Yes, but I do think it would be interesting because, except for when I was working at the Museum of African American History, that was the summer of 2013, and we did that major archaeological excavation. I wonder whether there are others that have been done in our area, because I don't really know of them, and our area must be particularly rich. Okay, well, I've got a lot of notes now. A lot of I had to do. Thank you.
Can you get that written up and into Lee?
Oh, I can do that. As long
Thank
as
you.
I'm glad you didn't add a date to that.
Well, we have the meeting with NP and EDC Monday, the 18th.
Okay, you did add a date. Okay.
Yep, right there. It would be
Okay.
nice to be able to present something.
Let's meet.
Mary, what time is the meeting? I don't have that marked down. 5. Okay. All right.
So in what we're presenting, that means that all of us, having gone through making presentations among us the last month or so, if we had anything dangling, we need to make those adjustments now.
It would be good, yes.
Yes.
No pressure.
Yeah. Ooh, okay.
So Henry, do you feel like you have enough, or have you thought about what your presentation is going to be? And also, are we encouraged to be there?
I would encourage you to be there in case there's a specific question. Fortunately, the chair of the NP and EDC is here, so we can ask her what she's looking for.
So I'm just going to note that we do not have time to post a meeting of the town area plan work group concurrent with the meeting for the NP and EDC.
Oh, so we aren't encouraged to be there.
Yeah, if a quorum showed up, you would not be encouraged to comment. So
Okay.
you're certainly welcome to watch it on YouTube or NCTV in real time if you want, or watch the recording afterward. But we'd want to avoid violating open meeting law.
And could you repeat what time that meeting starts?
Starts at 5 p.m.
Okay.
We're not on the agenda, Mary?
The update from the town area plan is on the agenda. Yes, it's the second presentation after the transportation program.
Okay.
But does that follow that it includes us?
It doesn't follow, unfortunately.
Well, oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, obviously a representative from the town area plan will be there, and that's Henry. But
Well,
if
there'll be a couple of us, but yeah.
yeah, and I'm there, and so if
Yep.
Henry and I and 3 other people begin to discuss town area plan business, it's not a good situation.
But what if you just individually respond to a question about what's been submitted? That is,
It gets really sticky, Marcia. I do not want to be the one trying to arbitrate that with, with a foot in both camps.
mhm.
Well, Mary, are you looking for us to submit a packet for review or?
So if you look at the already posted packet, you can see what Mattakit submitted. That level of information would be fine. I don't think we're expecting you to submit a draft of an area plan. That would be surprising.
But you would want at least a PDF that combines 1, 2, 3, 4, each of the 9 components in a package.
For Monday, we're looking for an update from the work group on what they've accomplished so far. And that is not expected to take the form of a draft plan.
Okay.
It's the check-in. Now, if you happen to come with a draft plan, they certainly wouldn't turn it down, but that's not what's expected.
You don't want to see what we've already got done.
Not
You just want to discuss it.
37 pages of detail, no.
So
Okay.
then it sounds to me like right now is our opportunity to talk about what Henry will say and what your sense is about where are we?
I would say go for it. Yes.
Oh, we're in
Marcia, if you can get yours updated and then to Lee, I'm gonna ask that he's there also in case there's anything specific they want, because he's got all the notes. And I'm gonna print up a copy to, in case there's any questions.
So how close do we think we are? Do we think that we're in a first or a second draft of our submission to them?
We still have to. Let me get my notes. Land use, Marianne still has to update. Housing, you and Mickey got to start. Economic development, Allison and Mary. I've got a good start. Natural and cultural resources, you're doing that now. Open space and rec, we've got a good start. Services and facilities, I don't know if we've got anything from Reagan and Mickey on that, not much. And then circulation, Mary and Lee.
Right.
So we could go on.
The survey.
Yes, and the survey.
So, I mean, sounds to me as if we have substantial written material on every component. We have substantial discussion. We also have outstanding recommendations that are still in flux, that are still under discussion.
Yes.
We're not close. We're not close to a first draft.
Not to submit that I see.
But you might say
Yeah,
we're
but-
close to a first draft.
Say maybe, I don't know.
So,
It's hard to say.
remember, I know what's been going on in all these meetings, but very few other people do. And so you're talking mostly to an uninformed group of people. And what they want to know is, what have you gotten done? And they're not saying, why aren't you done yet? Finished. They're saying, we don't know what's been going on. Give us an update.
Right. I mean, and I think it might be useful to include a statement of what our challenges have been and what they are.
We could write volumes on that.
That one, I mean, but mean, we ought to be true that, that there are areas that we need professional help on or funding. There are areas that we're all volunteers and we're all, and I guess, Henry, you would say something about the survey, correct? We did do a survey.
Yep.
And how we're working to integrate that information.
We've got Amy Baxter coming in, that's October 3rd at 3 p.m.
And
So
she is,
she's the licensing. Mary and Allison wanted her, I believe.
Right, to ask questions about business activity within our mostly residential district.
Yep.
right.
Who else do we need help from?
I think we were also going to have Mike Burns come in and, we're going to share the transportation results with him and he can relate what's in the various official transportation plans to our area. And so Lee and I can use his input to, frame our section on circulation.
Okay, when do you want them?
I think we were looking at the second meeting in October for that. But I think that's flexible. If there's, if there's something else, one of the other topics that wants to move forward as well, I think that we don't need to have Mike in right away. That those plans are, pretty straightforward.
I mean, under housing, I really strongly felt that I needed a lot more information that couldn't be extracted from any of the maps or that Nathan Porter could access other than the numbers of residences. So, I attempted to work through PIN, and tell me again the name of the staff member that is our rep.
Our rep where?
You mean Megan?
Yes, Megan. So
Okay, yeah. Our liaison in plus to this group, yes.
So I've tried to work with Megan, with Nathan to try to learn more about, because to describe housing and know how many people live here year round, how many are seasonal, just to break it down to understand what it is I'm working with for housing components. So that was definitely for me. And it's a challenge I can say a lot of good things about the housing, but then I don't really feel like I know the basic information.
Well, but by all means, continue to try and work with Plus to get information, but it may be that nobody has that information. We don't really know how many people live here year round.
No,
nobody does.
Yep, I think it's true that nobody has it, which is why I started to work with a student from the Preservation Institute this summer who was able, has an expertise in working with maps and that didn't get me anywhere. I was very hopeful, but it did not. But that's just kind of in an area where you say, well, I need this information. We don't have it. It's not, nobody has it. So it's a recommendation to get the information somehow in the future so that we understand more about our community and our neighborhood.
Marcia, I'm forwarding something to you that I saw just a couple weeks ago that might help.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Again, I think my problem was that I went off and I looked at area plans for Cohasset, for Scituate, for other coastal towns and looked at what they said about housing. And it was, yes, it wasn't the small area that we have, it was their town, but it was very, very impressive. And they were able to extract some very clear, sound recommendations for what was needed because they had some factual information. And so then I went looking. So anyway, that's what got me into a mess.
And I'll just remind, those of us that are here, I mean, look to our existing master plan to see what information is in there and what scope it has. There may be things that you can build off or that you can, get from there and say, okay, this needs to be updated.
Okay, okay, that's good. And I assume that's easily accessible on the website.
On the town's website.
Thank you.
It's accessible anyway.
Yeah.
I'll say easily and town website, not usually in the same sentence.
Yeah.
All right. Has anybody got anything else?
Good luck, Henry.
Yes.
Well, thanks, Mary.
Also, I'm here on the island, so if anyone needs anything with the storm, just let me know. I have extra rooms, dry towels, whatever you need.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
You're on high ground.
I'm here on Fair and Darling, pretty dry. My friends are all concerned about me, and I said, I don't know, the house is 300 years old. It's been through a few storms. I think we'll be fine.
We'll be fine.
Yeah, I had a text from a friend in Michigan today, wanting to know how bad it was. I said, it's not even here yet.
Well,
It's got to be nor'easter.
yeah, it's no big deal. It's another windy day on Nantucket.
Exactly.
To me, anyway.
Well, someone was saying, well, the ferries. I'm like, if it's not an adventure getting here, you're not getting here. That's just how you have to be flexible.
Yeah,
Just
well,
Keeps the riffraff out.
There you go.
It keeps the riffraff in.
There we go.
More true, yes, Marianne.
good one.
All right, riffraff. Good to see everybody.
Yes.
Okay. I have 4:59. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mary, second.
Marcia.
I think Marcia's second.
Just a second.
Mark, okay, Marcia seconds. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're out of here. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay dry.